I think these days it sort of feels like there is just trauma in the field, right? I mean, I feel like that all of us have been sort of battered by this reality in various ways. I mean, whether it's things that are landing in your personal life, or it's just paying attention to the world around us. I mean, everything has become so fragmented, so to the point of not even fragmented, it's become so dissociated, and there's so much fear in the water, and so much just intensity at all times. You know, the minute I wake up in the morning, first time I look at, you know, the news feed on my phone, it's just trauma, 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 trauma. It's crazy. I mean, in many ways, I feel like we are living in the era of trauma. But I think one of the things we're going to talk about today is how not to sort of wallow, you know what I mean, in that trauma, which is very, very, I think, tempting for all of us to do, but rather to find the opportunity to transmute this trauma into something like post-traumatic growth, which is another theme that you and I have talked about previously in the show. So all which is to say, I am really looking forward to getting into this with you today.
Me too. And specifically, one of the reasons I wanted to do this particular topic is that there's an explosion of research and treatment modes around trauma that have occurred over the last 30 years. And there's these great systems for working with trauma. But first of all, let's look at what is trauma, okay? Trauma is a form of memory, okay? We have, as humans, one of the things that characterizes us from all the other creatures is we have ridiculously enhanced memorial capacities. We got short-term memory, we got long-term memory, we got consolidated memory, we have implicit memory, we have explicit memory, episodic memory, procedural memory.
And that's just in the individual. We also have cultural memory.
Cultural memory, relational memory. And all these things affect our sense of self, how we move through the world, because that's what memories do. The nervous system is programmed to learn things so they can anticipate and associate on stuff in the present moment, and then send us unconscious material from our shadow to guide us, okay? And so what trauma memory is something happened in terms of our learning, either by a series of repetitive distressing events of abuse or neglect of some sorts. And by the way, these events are not categorized by the event, they're categorized by how somebody absorbs the event in their nervous system. So the nervous system, these are called in EMDR, Francine Shapiro's system. If there's a lot of little events, you know, of just being distressed or pissed off or, you know, put down, these are called small t traumas, okay? Where we just experience ourselves not being mirrored adequately as children or something. And then there's big T traumas, that assaults, car wrecks, that kind of stuff, that we have a memory process that brings those the solutions that our nervous system came to those events, dissociation, attack, amplification, those kinds of things, and gives us impulses to go to those solutions, and those solutions are maladaptive. And with trauma, you get less resilient as you progress. Right. It takes less and less of a trigger to stimulate more and more of a response, and this is called sensitization. And sensitization is probably the dynamic that is most difficult and most pernicious in traumatic learning and in working with trauma. Okay? Now that's a form of memory. There's another form of memory that is resilience, which is the exact opposite. Resilience is we have an unfortunate experience, but we learn from that experience, and the next time a similar thing happens, we are less distressed and more able to deal with it. And what we want to do when we have traumatic learning is we want to transform it from trauma memories, trauma learning, trauma reactions in the present moment, into resilience. And that's Trauma into Transcendence, which is the working title of the book I've been writing the last couple of years on trauma.